It's been very rewarding because this is a community that I grew up in. This is a community that I professionally developed in and devoted more than 30 years of my life to the school district. So it's been very rewarding to make connections, to see where we're headed, continue to see the progress that this school district continues to render, and the value that I believe it really provides for the community.
One of the perceived challenges entering this school year was addressing learning losses for students. How has the district tackled that specific issue in the first couple of months here?
Sure. So let me just start by telling you that that is probably the most important element of what we're facing, right? Is continuing to monitor closely and get true snapshots, academic snapshots of where students are and where they need to be. So it is a combination of strategies that we've been doing to support students that are not there yet. And one thing that is important is we cannot rely anymore on remediation, but actually accelerate learning by providing supports for students at the same time. It appears to be complex, it is, but if just you strictly remediate, you will never get students to where they are. So we do a combination, and one thing that we've done a lot is, of course, a lot of extended opportunities for them to receive instruction before school, after school tutorials, interventions during the day. And we even, for the first time, through ESSER dollars, a lot of federal dollars, we've actually opened up an after-school tutoring model that's virtual, online, available from 4 to 8 o'clock at night from Monday through Thursday. So whatever we can do to add instructional time to students is what we've been doing. However, many of our students, it's not only about academics. A lot of these students came out of the pandemic needing some social, emotional, mental health supports. So we've been attending to that as well in a very deliberate manner. So aside from the counselors or CAP advisors that we have at schools, we have now a new layer of folks. They're called mental health coordinators that work carefully with the schools for the students that need extended services to make sure that they are doing well. So we talk about academic health, we talk about mental health, and we talk about physical health. We're trying to make sure that we attend to these three things, especially as we come out of the pandemic. And this is a year that we call Connect and Inspire, because the environment has become more stable finally. I don't think we can use the word normal anymore, or for at least for now.
Yeah, we're in a classroom, and to my right, your left, I see a behavior chart. You mentioned addressing mental health. Has the teacher shortage within the district make it a little bit more challenging to meet some of these goals you talk about, meeting the needs of the students from mental health and also addressing those learning losses?
So the vacancies and the openings that we've had, listen, there is a national teacher crisis. Florida has been impacted similarly. So in our school district, what we do have is this additional set of individuals that are really helping cover some of the gaps and really supporting students. We also have in our school district, when we have openings in schools, we do have personnel at the district that have been deployed to cover those classes. So, of course, the crisis in teaching and the need for teachers makes it more difficult, right? However, we are trying to do anything possible, all strategies, all hands on deck to make sure that our students are receiving the supports that we need from multiple departments as necessary.
8 months on the job, what would you say is the strength of the district so far, and perhaps what is your chief concern?
So the strength of the school district is this is a school district that has been on a journey of continuous improvement for the last 10 years. So every year we get better at what we're doing. There are systems in place to support schools and support students. We are very data-wise or data-driven. We make decisions based on where pockets of needs exist. We measure the progress of schools, and based on how they're doing, We provide additional supports, whether it's professional development or support for the leaders, the leadership. So we pretty much have a good handle on how we tier schools in terms of the supports that they need. And we also target very specifically within each school what students need. We are not new at this, and the results of the school district speak for themselves. So if you look at the latest NAEP results, right, the nation's report card, it has reflected large decreases across the nation, particularly in large school districts, of declines in reading and mathematics, 4th and 8th grade. Our school district has held ground. We have not experienced those significant drops in 3 out of the 4 tested areas. What does it tell you? It tells you that we are on a trajectory of recovering the unfinished learning that many of the students have experienced.
Chief concern?
The chief concern, to be honest with you, is the mental health of students. To make sure that, and I say it's not that it's large in scope. My concern is the students that may have mental health needs that are not visible, that they go home and they experience difficulties and we're not seeing them in school. Students have gone through a lot of shifts, right, because of the pandemic. And so our ability to be really connected to that is important. And that's the concern. The concern is we cannot attend academic needs successfully if there are other barriers that are interfering with students having positive experiences in school. So that is a continued concern of mine, because that impacts behavior, that impacts how they're feeling, that impacts how they interact with their family. And so this concept of addressing the whole child is becoming really important, and we are very focused on making sure that the mental health supports of students are being attended to.
And to do that, you'll need resources. Recently, your chief financial officer said the district is heading toward a financial cliff without a yes vote on the referendum. What happens if you don't get a yes?
If we don't get a yes, we compromise completely our ability to sustain, recruit, and retain the best teachers for this community. We compromise our ability to retain and recruit the best police officers for each and every one of our schools. The referendum in 2018, which now sunsets in 2023, as a result, we're going to the voters for a renewal, has everything to do for us to sustain and maintain what we've been able to do. Increase teacher salaries to the average national salary when Florida sits on the 48th step in terms of average national salary. And then it has helped us recruit and retain the best police officers for safe schools. This community, in its generosity in 2018, allowed us to hire 290 additional police officers. And that allowed us to put 1 police officer in every school. The law does not require that. The law requires an armed guardian. This community demands more. This community wants police officers in our schools. And I'll tell you a quick story. Here at Shenandoah Elementary today, the officer that was walking with us outside, she actually told me, now the incredible part about this is this, she was a student while I was a principal at Hialeah Gardens Elementary. But the story gets even better. I said, so before you were here, where were you? And she says, I was a police officer for the city of Hialeah Gardens. I said, really? I said, what made you come with us? I wanted to work with students. I said, and let me ask you this, are we paying you better than at Hialeah Gardens? Absolutely. So, our referendum in 2018 that we're trying to renew and that we're presenting to the voters, this is an example of us being able to hire and recruit already trained officers that come to us and they stay. Prior to 2018, they would do what she did. They would be with us 4 or 5 years and then depart to other agencies that could pay them better.
You mentioned the generosity of the community back in 2018. How much more generous are they going to have to be this time around? How much is it going to cost the average home owner?
So we have increased it just slightly. And why have we done that? The law now requires that charter schools, they are public schools, are part of the referendum as well. So the increase, the slight increase to the typical homeowner, so a typical homeowner right now is literally paying $14 per month. With the renewal, that only increases to $6 per month more. And so what it's doing is capturing 80,000 additional students from the charter schools, and that is the differential. It is not a new tax. It is a renewal with this added piece of it that is required by the legislator. Charter schools are public schools, and they have to share in the referendum.
Does that make it more fiscally challenging having to help financially support these charter schools?
It doesn't. As it relates to the referendum, they will get the proportional share of the referendum dollars, and everything is based on number of students per student cost. Now, one thing that is also important to add, because I've been asked many times, the ballot also indicates that there will be an oversight committee. It's been in place since 2018. There's an oversight committee made up of residents that truly monitor and ensure that the funds are going specifically for teacher, instruction, police officers, safety and security, nothing else. Not a penny to administrative costs, no funding for special programs, no funding for facilities. Strictly for these two areas that the community in 2018 voted above 70% on its approval.
We just touched on the teacher pay issue. Along with that is also the rhetoric outside the classroom also hurt or impeded the district's ability to recruit great teachers. It seems like you have two moving obstacles at the same time, two moving targets. You have the pay issue and then also the rhetoric around the curriculum here in Florida. Has that been a factor and a challenge?
It probably is a factor. The narrative has been a negative narrative. We try to keep our focus on how to support teachers, right? So we have to focus on the fact that we have incredible, talented, dedicated teachers that are working with students day in, day out, frontline workers, typically, right? What they did past the pandemic. I believe if we support them, if we provide the best conditions possible for teaching, they will stay with us. It's a matter of pay. It's a matter of the conditions that we provide to them. And I think that the more teachers need to have a sense of a promising financial outlook for their own well-being, right? And as you know, Miami is becoming a very expensive city. So we want teachers to remain with us and not have to leave to other school districts like Broward. They passed a referendum. Palm Beach will be presenting theirs very soon. Any other large school district across the state has had to do a referendum in order to be able to compete for talent. We're not the only ones competing for talent. Almost every single industry is doing the same thing. Unfortunately, we don't get sufficient funding where we could, on our own, provide these competitive salaries.
And you mentioned the sufficient funding. With the federal stimulus dollars, I imagine, going away soon, how much will that impact the budget, along with the fact that, if I'm understanding you correctly, the state's not providing enough funds to address some of these needs that you have within the fourth largest school district nationally?
Exactly. And right now, we're the fourth, but I can tell you that we may become the third, because our enrollment for the first time in 18 years is actually increasing. So if we keep this momentum, we may be officially considered the third largest school district. ESSER funds have been able to support non-recurring one-time investments in tutorial programs, specific materials that we've used, but ESSER funds could not be used for recurring salaries and expenses. So it's been an injection of solid funding, but for specific issues or specific strategies that we've put into place, and the majority has been to increase student learning and also increase attendance, and also even look at aspects of mental health and additional supports after school.
A couple more questions, I'll get you out of here. I know you're a busy man. What's it been like doing these town halls over the last month, trying to share the message of why voting yes on the referendum is critically important?
So we've had 12 town hall meetings. I think they've all been very important. And as a superintendent, I can only inform and clarify. And so that was the purpose of the referendum. We had to, number one, show the community how we add value to it. And that is a school district that has been rated A for 3 consecutive years. We have 67 school districts in the state of Florida. Only 14 were rated A. We're one of the 10, okay? Top 10 in the state. 99.5% of our schools are rated A, B, or C. Very few other school districts can claim that. And more significantly, within the last decade, we have been able to increase our graduation rate by 20 percentage points. What are we sitting with? We're sitting with a graduation rate of 90.1, the highest it has ever been. That is what we've been trying to communicate, what value this school district provides to this community. It's been sustainable. It adds value to home property. It has, when you have solid public schools that are performing well, when you have high percentage of students that are graduating, even the index of crime can actually decline. It's all correlated. 90% of children in this country are taught in public schools. And the investment in teachers, the investments in police officers is all about the investment in the people that teach and protect our students. And it's all for the community.
You mentioned during your interview the interaction with the police officer.
Yes.
When you go to different schools around the district, what do you hope to take away from each experience? I have to imagine each one is unique on its own when you visit these schools.
Yes. So if it relates to the police officer, this is something, I love this question because the great differential of our school district is that we have the same police officer bell to bell in the same school. That does not happen in other school districts because sometimes they have to rely on other law enforcement agencies, so they may not have the same police officer every day. We do. And that one officer becomes intimately involved with the students. They know the students very well. They know the community. And sometimes something that folks may forget, they know the layout of the school building, where building 1 is as compared to building 3, as compared to where the cafeteria is. Imagine in a case of an emergency or a crisis, that one police officer that knows this school in and out, the response will be much more immediate. And that is the great differential in our school district. Police officers that are part of the culture of the school, and as a result of that, they're able to learn and be advised or quickly understand where we may have pockets of issues in each and every one of our schools.
My final question, what are the biggest needs or asks from principals that you get to speak with when you go to these different schools?
It's a simple one. They have a need for teachers. They have a need for teachers. It's I don't want to say global, but there is a national teacher crisis. There are states that have declared emergencies in teacher vacancies. So after the pandemic, some of our principals are looking for teachers, and they just don't want to hire anyone. They're going to hire quality professionals that can really make a difference. I think if our principals and our school leaders were not hiring what they're hiring now, we would not have the results that we have for the school district. It makes a difference. Probably the most important decision that a principal can make is who they hire. If they hire the right teacher, the most talented individual, you have a winning school. Students will win, students will grow, and that is the most important decision that they can make.
And you want to make sure the community gives them that opportunity by voting yes next Tuesday.
Absolutely. Our ability to provide competitive salaries in this market of talent that is difficult to find, and in this community that is getting more and more expensive, it's the only way that we can offer the community what we've been offering. So we need to be able to compete for the best teachers, compete for the best police officers, so that we can deliver the best schools for this well-deserving community.
Dr. Dotres, thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Joe.